Hi, this is Josh Jackson, editor of Pace Magazine. I'm here at the Sennheiser and Pace studio and lounge in Austin, Texas, and my guest here is Ryan Quincey.
Hello.
Ryan is was the lead animator on South Park. Mm-hmm. Now you have your own show.
Yes.
What was that transition like, going from I'm going to animate other people's ideas to I've got to come up with the ideas, I've got to tell the stories, I've got to do it all for out there?
It was very daunting, and at first I thought, oh, this is going to be no problem. But yeah, it was huge. It wasn't anything I imagined, but it was very rewarding and it was amazing. You know, to work on South Park for as long as I did, and to be around Matt and Trey and see their creative process, it was so inspiring to see those guys work to the bitter end. You know, a lot of some of the other shows, the creators kind of go off and they're done with the show, but those guys are so engaged, mm-hmm. and they have such a great work ethic that I took that and applied it to out there.
Uh-huh.
So, any
other lessons that you picked up as you're doing your own show? You're just thankful. Oh, I'm so glad I had this experience.
What's so great about Matt and Trey, they're so punk rock, garage style, do-it-yourself kind of. They created this island of everything in-house. You know, you can record voices in the studio, you can edit, you can color correct, you can animate, everything in-house. And I wanted to take so much of that and kind of eliminate a lot of the inefficiencies of the assembly line of animation, because Simpsons and they still send stuff over to Korea, and it takes a long time to animate these shows. And South Park nailed it with figuring out we can do a show in 5 or 6 days. Now, we don't really do that on out there, just because there's no way that I could do that and still be alive. But I did apply a lot of that kind of assembly line type of stuff. Oh, we can take this out and we can eliminate this and make a good product too still.
Yeah. So you weren't there from the beginning with South Park, but you were there pretty early on.
Yeah, I started on the movie.
Yeah. What was going into something that I guess had a little bit been established at that point? What was your thought on wow, I'm animating South Park now?
Yeah. Well, originally I was trying to get jobs at The Simpsons and King of the Hill, and was getting rejected. And I was like, oh, I saw South Park. I was like, oh, I could work on that show. It's pretty crappy. I could do that. I could
draw Cartman.
Yeah. So I could do that. So I got the job, and it was actually harder than I thought. There's actually there's guidelines and things that the characters can and can't do, and over time the style really evolved. So yeah, it was.
Well, this is not only your first time, with your own show out there, but you're also an actor on it. You do the voice of the main character, Chad. Yeah,
that was interesting too, because I did 3 shorts for 20th Century Fox, and just out of necessity, I did the voice of the main character. And when IFC picked it up, they were like, well, let's talk about casting, and the only voice we really want to carry over from the shorts is yours, Chad's. And I was just like, oh, really? I was like, I wasn't prepared for that. Yeah. But they're like, yeah, no, definitely. It's because a lot of the stories are mine from my childhood. So they felt like you're the voice of the show. You should literally be the voice of the show.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was cool.
So talk a little bit about that. The character of Chad. I mean, you said it's based a lot on your own childhood, the kind of crazy adventures and the crazy friends and the family life. And
yeah, it was definitely autobiographical. I grew up in a small town in Nebraska in the late 80s, early 90s. It's kind of we never come out and say what time period it is, but it predates computers and cell phones and Facebook and all this stuff we have now. But that just seemed like a time where you're a little more engaged with the world, and you're 15 years old and you don't have a job, you don't have a car, you just wander around, and are bored.
It's high school before the girls start noticing you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the 2 main characters we say they're virgins for years to come. So, yeah.
And did you have a friend like that?
Yeah, a lot of the characters are sort of Frankenstein versions of people from my past, and yeah, I had a friend that was a little bit of a feral wild child, that I was always very more introverted and shy and kind of the wallflower, and then I'd kind of gravitate to those guys that were kind of devil may care,
Yeah, and you know, I watched the pilot, and the thing that struck me was just the difference between South Park and this is the sort of sweetness of this
Yeah.
show. It has a little bit of a different tenor.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's funny because a lot of South Park fans were very. It's almost the antithesis of South Park.
Yeah.
You know, it's a little more. Yeah, it's got hard. There's some melancholy. It's a little bit more like Charlie Brown than like South Park. You know, that type of stuff. So I wanted to do that. I really haven't seen a cartoon like that, an
Yeah.
adult cartoon.
You know, the one that it did remind me of a little bit was Home Movies. Have you seen?
Oh yeah, yep.
Just
Yeah.
does
Well, Lauren
that seem-
Bouchard is, you know, he does Bob's Burgers, and we share a studio with the Bob's Burgers folks. And yeah, I love Home Movies.
Yeah, just the way that the school age characters are kind of interacting with this world that's not really, you know, listening to them very much. And
Yeah, exactly. They're a little estranged from their parents and teachers, and yeah, totally. And I also was a huge fan of like movies like Over the Edge. Do you remember that? Matt
Yeah.
Dillon's first movie, and which is really angsty and stuff. But there was that, and Pete, and you know, some of that stuff
Yeah,
was
yeah,
with the
you can see that
narration,
kind
and so yeah, that was always thrown in the soup, you know. So, and out there it was spit out.
So, and IFC is your partner on this.
Yes.
How has that relationship been, and launching through them?
It's been amazing. They're like the perfect place, a custom fit for out there. I pitched the show to 20th Century Fox in 2008, and they loved it, but they just didn't know what to do with it. It just wasn't a Sunday night thing. We always felt like a square peg there, but they didn't want it to die, so they would take it to, you know, we did the rounds, and everyone was like, oh, why do the characters look the way they do? And there was always something, but IFC totally got it and totally embraced it and nurtured it, and we're like, we don't want to change anything. We love it how it is. And they've just been like curators almost to the project. So it's been awesome.
Well, I'd love to hear you answer that question, not from a why do they look the way they do, but I mean, why did you choose sort of this look and feel for the characters?
Well, for one, I was just tired of drawing humans. I just was, and I was heavily influenced by like Maurice Sendak and Dr. Seuss and Richard Scarry and William Stig, those type of illustrators. And I just started drawing characters with paws and claws and animal noses, and it just seemed like, and I would see like kids, like high school kids walking with just like from behind like these giant heads of hair. It was just like on the other side, you just didn't even see their faces, and it was just like, I just feel like that's
high school right there.
It's high school.
High school is just a bunch of animals.
You just feel like a bunch of freaks, yeah.
That's how you feel, yeah. So it's the feeling of the characters kind of coming through.
Yeah. And the thing that I always say when people ask about the characters' look is the way they look on the outside is how they feel on the inside. So that kind of squashes any like, oh, okay, yeah, I see, yeah, I got it.
So you've got season 1 done. You have any ideas in your head of where these characters are going, or?
Oh, definitely. I want to hang out. It's like hanging out with friends, you know, because a lot of them are based on old friends and teachers and people in my past. So it is. It's like, yeah, you want to hang out with them some more. So I hopefully, fingers crossed.
And where was high school for you? Where?
Holdridge, Nebraska.
Nebraska.
Town of about 5,000 people.
So is this sort of Holdridge?
Yeah, our town is called Holford.
Holford.
So it's, loosely based on my growing up.
And the landscape definitely has that feel to it.
Like a wasteland.
Like a wasteland, yeah.
Emotionally and geographically, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, the show is called Out There. It's on IFC. It airs
Friday nights, 10 Eastern, 9 Central.
10 Eastern, 9 Central.
Yeah.
This has been Ryan Quincey. I'm Josh Jackson for Paste Magazine. We're here in Austin, Texas at South by Southwest for the Paste & Sennheiser Studio and Lounge. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. Awesome. Thanks, man.